Want to share with you about Eckert and how we impact North Dakota. First, I do want to say thank you for having us here and letting us speak about Eckert and what we do. I really appreciate it. And I just want to go over some main points that I want to talk about, which is who we are, what we do, the ASAM, if any of you are familiar with what that is, and diagnostic criteria. Just to bridge some gaps that might be there. And then at the end, I'll allow time for questions. And yeah, so we're just going to get started. All right. So we are Eckert Youth Homes. We are currently the only adolescent residential treatment facility in the state of North Dakota. Our residential treatment facility is ASAM level 3-5, which is medium intensity residential treatment. And we really strive to create an environment where youth are able to be kids while teaching them skills to help them maintain their sobriety. A lot of these kids that we treat have extensive trauma histories. And so we have an environment where they're allowed to be a kid and they don't have to be in survival mode. And one of my favorite stories that always comes to my head is we had this youth who she had her birthday when she was in our program and she had never celebrated her birthday before. She never had a birthday party. And so we celebrated it at Eckert. And she requested that I do a rap for her. I'm not a rapper, like look at me. So I did, and then it became a thing, and I could not live it down for probably 3 months. But just me rapping for her meant something to her. Having a birthday cake meant something to her. And that's what we really try to do is to help these kids be kids and help them maintain their sobriety. We use the trauma-informed care approach, and we look at addiction as a chronic disease because essentially that's what it is. And we have served over 300 youth across the state of North Dakota. Fewer than 100 episodes were incomplete, highlighting our commitment to helping youth successfully navigate their recovery journey. So that's a little bit about us. We serve our residential and outpatient. We serve ages 14 to 17 years old. Ages 13 are on a case-by-case basis just because of the cognitive processing. They might not be able to understand the information that we teach at Eckert, and we do accommodate to people who, have cognitive processing concerns. We do make accommodations, but overall, ages 13 is case by case. We have had applications for 12 years old, but that's a little young to understand our programming. And we also have outpatient programming, starts at level 0.5, goes to 2.1. And we also have young adult outpatient services, just level 1. We're located in Williston, very rural area. Now what we do at Eckert, so we focus on helping individuals and their families understand the problems created with substance use. And we really focus on family involvement too, because as we know, addiction does not just affect the individual, it affects their whole entire life, which includes their family members as well. We teach guardians, parents, how to help support the youth the best they can. There's a lot of misinformation and a stigma surrounding substance use. And sometimes it's just the lack of education surrounding substance use that we see with parents or guardians that creates the gap. So we do family sessions. Every youth does family sessions. They have the option of doing family sessions. with their guardians or parents, they can opt out if they want to, but those are geared more towards how can we help them maintain their sobriety as a caretaker. And then, again, understand the problems created by substance use, the need to change behavior, and ways to develop and maintain healthy relationships. So like I said earlier, addiction impacts the individual as a whole. So we focus on helping the youth understand the medical impacts, diseases, neglect due to substance use, like dental hygiene, hygiene in general. Maybe they broke their hand a while ago and they never went and got it checked out. Biological, psychological, their mental health symptoms. Are they self-medicating by using substances? Social aspects. Do they have negative peer supports? What does their peer support look like? Do they isolate themselves? Do they have friends? Do they go out? And spiritual. So we focus on hope as well. Hope is very important in recovery, and spirituality brings that aspect. Whatever they decide to have as a higher power, we definitely encourage it. And we really follow our mission statement and our values. We provide quality treatment services, which encourages the spiritual, educational, behavioral, emotional, and physical development of children, youth, and their families. We have our core values down here, which is faith, integrity, excellence, and caring. We also do the trauma-informed care approach, which is provided in a safe, supportive, home-like setting, meeting the kid where they're at, being caring, letting them have choices is very important. Again, with some of their background, a lot of the times, maybe they felt like they didn't have a choice in their treatment or in what they wanted to do, in certain situations. So we try to give them as much choice as they can, because this is about them. We have tutor time and we have academic support. So we allow 1 time or 1 hour per day for the work week, Monday through Friday. 1 hour per day set aside for tutor time to help them focus on their GED, doing job applications, resumes, school, if they're in school. We allow that time to focus on that, because we value education here at Eckert as well. But we do have that emphasis that we are a treatment facility, so that's gonna be the main focus. And then again, we have our family sessions. They complete a minimum of 1 family session per week with their LAC. So kids on my caseload obviously do family sessions with me, and they do them once a week with their LACs throughout their stay. Every staff member is certified in trauma-informed care. That's all I have for that one, actually. And we'll move on. So these are some of the activities that we do at Eckert. We have fitness, parenting classes, and art activities. These are just some of them. Fitness, we think, is very important, and it actually helps with kids in identifying new healthy coping skills to replace substance use, right? A lot of people that I've worked with have discovered basketball, fishing, walking, hiking, as healthy coping skills for them when they return home. It also helps them understand the physical effects of substance use on the body. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, I need to stop smoking cigarettes. I can't run." Nope, you can't really do that very well if you're smoking cigarettes every day. So it helps them learn that. In parenting classes, we've had some youth that are either expecting or they have children. So we really encourage them to take parenting classes to prep them for parenthood. And then art activities, they do woodworking, crafting, and just like regular drawing activities. Again, exploring those healthy coping skills. What can you do to, replace your substance use? And woodworking has been a very big hit, in our program. And then here are some photos of the activities that they do. Fishing is huge. They volunteer at the local dog or animal shelter, which also they love. They go boating, and we have team building activities, and then pottery, and then hiking. Hiking is my favorite, but yeah, they do a lot of activities. Um, and these activities, we really see the kids, the youth, come to life again because they're allowed to be kids during these moments, and they help build social skills, communication skills, and again, healthy coping skill identification. So a lot of these outings are done during the week. They usually go fishing on the weekends, because the weekends there's no programming really, but we try our best to find new activities for them to do and to continue doing activities that they love. And so this is the average day schedule. This is what their day-to-day looks like Monday through Friday. The daily preparation group with direct care staff, that's the one that really sets the mood. Usually they go over the schedule. They might talk about coping skills briefly. And then they go over their schedule for the day, who they're meeting with, what time, and kind of what to expect throughout the day. And then we have our spirituality and recovery group. This is where we talk about hope, talk about, we have a licensed pastor come in, and he actually works with us, so he doesn't really come in. But he covers the group, and he talks a lot about hope and navigating challenges in early recovery. And then we have group therapy. And so our group therapy is going to be either addiction specific, mental health specific, and then life skills. So like cooking, cleaning, practicing good hygiene. And I want to talk a little bit more about the group content that we have for addiction specific, just because I think it is important for other people to know how we provide the education. And then rhythmic activity. So they do, they have two of these after every, or they have one after every group therapy, and it's a half hour long. And this is where they do the fitness activities, the arts, they go play basketball, just a little break because our groups are an hour and a half long. There are a lot of breaks, but and that kind of gets to be a lot, especially when you're just a teenager. And then lunch. Lunch is the best. It's so good. It's homemade. It is. I miss it every day. I just have ham sandwiches, so I really miss that part. Individual therapy. Again, they meet with us, the LACs, or the mental health therapist, and that's it for that one. And then tutor time, schoolwork or GED. Again, doing resumes, job applications, really whatever they feel like they need to get done. We'll do it during that 1 hour. And then if they want to, they can work on their schoolwork outside of programming hours too. And then we have the physical activity. So from 5 to 10 p.m., 10 p.m. is bedtime. From 5 to 10 p.m., it's basically their free time. A lot of the times they go on mindful drives, listen to music, woodworking, art. That's when they'll do all that, or they'll do their homework that I assign, or the mental health therapist assigns, or their schoolwork. So that's really their free time. And then again, the outings. We've recently introduced equine stuff, and they had a blast with that. So going back to the group topics, these are what the LACs focus on. The mental health therapists, they also focus on the ACEs and self-regulation. And they also do music therapy as well. But this is kind of what we focus on. And relapse prevention, that's the whole point of going to treatment, right? That's the whole point of doing addiction treatment, is to prevent a relapse from happening. So what does that look like? Identifying triggers and healthy coping skills to help maintain sobriety. Then we have relapse justifications. What are they saying or what are they thinking to justify their relapse? How have they justified it in the past? And what to look out for in the future? Creating and maintaining healthy relationships. This is very important. A lot of these kids don't have healthy relationships. A lot of them are used to toxicity. So what does it look like to have a healthy relationship? What are the traits of that? And then once they have a healthy relationship, how do they maintain that without going back to the need for chaos? And then ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences. Trauma affects the body, right? There will or can be symptoms of trauma later in life, like the higher your ACE score, the higher you have the probability you'll have like heart disease and physical ailments. So we talk about that. And the effects of childhood trauma. We have guest speakers from Sober Living. They do Zoom and they share their stories. And one of my favorite things about the guest speakers is they help provide that sense of hope. Recovery is hard and it's difficult, but it's very doable. And we have people come in and share their story and provide hope to the youth. Substance use timeline, this is where they do their history of their substance use, the people they've interacted with, the events that led up to their substance use, and understanding what needs to change in that timeline or what they need to change in the future. Music therapy, analyzing songs and how they relate to youth substance use. So music is a great coping skill. It's a very good coping skill for a lot of youth that we have had. And we actually don't use any songs. We don't allow songs that glamorize substance use or have substance use in it or are really explicit. We don't allow that. And we always tell them to be mindful of what music they're choosing when they return to their home environment, because music can also be a trigger too. Self-regulation skills also ties into relapse prevention. Teaching youth how to regulate their emotions during moments of stress. So we teach them that it's okay to have emotions. You should have emotions. Emotions are healthy. Anger is healthy. Sadness is healthy. But we can't really use substances because we're sad or mad. Or fly off the wall. So how do we get back down to a cool down period and then get ready to talk about it? Part of their stay is also managing their caseload. And we have case managers that are very special, important people in Eckert's team. And they do a lot of the transitioning and discharge planning. And Eckert does peer reviews. We do those every week and we send them out to whoever their stakeholders are. And basically, that's an update of what the kid has been doing, how they've been doing, any concerns that they have or that we have. And it's just basically a weekly update to the stakeholders. Our stay is typically 4 to 6 weeks. A more definite time frame is determined once treatment is started. We typically are, I don't really like putting a time frame on it, but typically we are 4 to 6 weeks. Just because people tend to get focused on that discharge, and that's the day that they wait for. And so sometimes their treatment gets a little bit misguided because you're like, oh, I'm leaving today, or I'm leaving on this day. So I always tell them 4 to 6 weeks. it was really individualized too. Case managers are the DJS main point of contact while their youth is in treatment. I really don't interact that much with DJS. I just do, unless I have like an assessment, I might reach out for information. But it's really the case managers that hold down the fort in discharge planning and the transitioning of the youth. And we also do a transition meeting. That's the very last meeting where we all meet. So the case manager, the LEC, parents, guardians, stakeholders, we all have the transition meeting. It's basically to make sure that there's expectations set and everything is up to date. So there's no surprises on what to expect when the youth comes home. Any appointments that need to be made or last minute appointments, those will be made during the transition meeting. And the youth will read their relapse prevention plan that everybody gets a copy of it. So everyone can know what the youth triggers are, who their support systems are, what healthy coping skills they have, and then how they can help that youth when they are experiencing potential relapse. So this is all the discharge stuff and then transfer things. And then I want to talk about the admission criteria. So I said earlier that I wanted to talk about the ASAM. Because sometimes it can be confusing as to like why one kid met criteria and then why another kid didn't. And maybe they have the same amount of substance use, but maybe their behaviors exceeded. And so I wanted to talk about the ASAM. The ASAM just stands for American Society of Addiction Medicine. And this is our assessment that gets them a substance use disorder diagnosis. And it's just a snapshot of what the youth substance use is. Obviously, like we go off of what they say, and if things aren't clicking, we have to reach out for collateral. Or if things aren't adding up, or if we need more information about something that they said, then we reach out for information from stakeholders. Again, the purpose is to diagnose substance use disorders. There are 6 dimensions of the ASAM, and these are the 6 main categories. And then I'll talk about scoring. I'll go into the dimensions in a little bit too. So to be admitted into Eckert's residential treatment program, you have to meet criteria for ASAM level 3-5, medium intensity residential treatment. And some of the things that we look at for meeting 3-5 is is there a history of outpatient? Have they had outpatient programming? And were they able to maintain in the community? The severity of their usage, environmental factors. Are their family members using? Are they getting substances from their family members? And then what is their history of residential treatment services? Have they been in a higher level of care and they're ready to step down? Or have they had repeated episodes of residential treatment with no success so far? So, the ASAM. These are the dimensions. ASAMs are my favorite thing to do, just so you guys know. I love it. It's so much fun for me. Dimension 1. So we're looking at intoxication withdrawal potential. This is also where we get that history of the substance use. What are they using? How often are they using? What's the method? Are they IV? Are they smoking? Are they snorting? When was their last use? And are they high or drunk right now during the assessment? And then will they experience withdrawal symptoms? Dimension 2, that's the biomedical conditions and complications. Are they taking any medications? Do they have seizures? Dental problems that needs to be fixed? Williston doesn't have a dentist that takes Medicaid. A lot of the kids that we see are on Medicaid. So we have to get that figured out before they come to us. Because a lot of times when they are no longer using substances, they feel their pain, you know? So we have to get that taken care of. How will their physical or biomedical conditions affect their treatment? And then dimension 3, we're looking at mental health diagnoses, suicide history, behavioral things, how's their anger management, do they get into fights all the time? Will they run away from our program? Will they get people to run away from our program with them? Any important hospitalizations, any recent hospitalizations? Some of the times, or most of the times, when people exceed our programming, their level or their score in dimension 3, that's going to be really high. That's going to be like a 4. And Eckert, since we are residential, medium intensity residential, we're not a lockdown facility. So if we have someone who is running away constantly or bringing back substances, going out and using substances, we have to think about their safety. They need a higher level of care. We have to think about the other youth and their safety. Dimension 4, readiness to change. So the ASAM criterion book, the 4th edition is coming out. I know that's very exciting. The 4th edition is coming out next year in July. So they're actually taking out the readiness to change. But for now, we will just use it. This is where they're at in their recovery. So we think about the stages of change: pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance. A lot of times we get them in pre-contemplation. They really don't think they struggle with substance use. They're not ready to quit. Sometimes we get them in contemplation. Sometimes we do. But that measures that. Dimension 5, the relapse, continued use, or potential problem. This is the likelihood of using still, the likelihood of relapse. Also looking into dimension 6, the recovery environment, that can tie into dimension 5. If they're in an environment where they have easy access to substance use, that'll affect dimension 5 as well. So dimension 6, the recovery living environment, is it conducive to their recovery? We're looking at family members, peer support, services available, and things like that. And so this is the ASAM. And this is what we do. We use this, or we do the ASAM with youth, and then they'll get the diagnosis, and we'll go through the DSM-5, and we'll look at the 11 criteria, and we'll be like, okay, so this is what they have. That's kind of just like a brief thing of how we do it. There's differences between adult care and adolescent care. Now, the only difference that we have is adult care has level 3.3 and the youth does not. So that's just a kind of like a snapshot of it. But going into the levels of care, we have level 5.5, early intervention strategies. This is where it's really not an issue yet. And so we're talking to them about substance use and potential damages, education, basically. Level 1 is just outpatient programming. That's meeting once a week. Level 2.1 and 2.5, this is intensive outpatient programming. So they're gonna have individual and group therapy for treatment. Level 3.1, 3.5, and 3.7, these are the residential, and they're at different levels. Level 3.1, they all are 24-hour care. Level 3.7 is a step above us. So if anyone really exceeds, we'll either recommend 3.7 or level 4. Level 4 is going to be your inpatient, which is medically managed, and they have a doctor. Residential doesn't have a doctor on site. We do have a nurse though. So, and that's a secure facility. We're not. And then the criteria, the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria. So this is what we look at when, after we complete the ASAM and we go into the DSM-5, this is what we're looking at. If someone has 2 to 3 symptoms or has 2 to 3 of these 11 symptoms, they are going to have a mild or abuse. And then 4 to 5 symptoms is going to be moderate. 6 or more is going to be that severe. And then we also have early remission, which is 3 months of sobriety, but less than 12. And then we have sustained remission, which is going to be 1 year of sobriety. So this is taken straight out of DSM-5. The substance is often taken in larger amounts or a longer period than was intended. There's a persistent desire or unsuccessful efforts to cut down or control use. Have they tried to quit using? Have they quit using and they've only been able to maintain for a week or a couple of days? Have they done that many times? What does that look like for them? A great deal of time is spent in activities necessary to obtain substance and use substance or recover from its effects. So are they going out of their way to get substances? Are they recovering from hangovers? Are they going through withdrawals? What does that look like for them? Craving or strong desire, urge to use the substance. Do they feel like they need it? Do they have that urge to go get it and have it? And then recurrent substance use resulting in a failure to fulfill major obligations at work, home, or school. Are they failing any classes? Can they get a job? Can they maintain a job? Some of these might sound familiar if you really start to think about the youth that you have worked with who have had substance use disorders or who have come to us, right? Looking back at their school, their work, their family relationships, right? Then we have continued substance use despite having persistent or recurrent social and interpersonal problems caused or exacerbated by the effects of the substance. So again, continued use despite having persistent or recurrent social or interpersonal problems. Continuing to use that substance while already having problems. Important social, occupational, or recreational activities are given up or reduced because of substance use. Did they quit basketball? Were they really good at sports? And then they started using substances and that's taking up their time? Did they used to do band? Were they in clubs and they're no longer doing that? Are they missing work, skipping work, missing doctor's appointments, things like that? Recurrent substance use in situations in which it is physically hazardous. Are they driving under the influence? Are they getting into vehicles with people who are under the influence? Just putting themselves in risky, dangerous situations. And then substance use is continued despite knowledge of having persistent or recurrent physical or psychological problems that is likely to have been caused or exacerbated by the substance. Do they continue to use a substance while knowing that they are physically having side effects from it? Or if they are it's affecting their mental health. Do they continue to drink alcohol when they know they are depressed in that moment or during that time and the alcohol doesn't make it better, but that's how they're coping with it? Tolerance, we just think about the tolerance increase. Do they have a tolerance increase? Does it take more to use the substance to get high or to achieve the same high? Withdrawal, will they go through withdrawals? Have they gone through withdrawals with the substance in the past? What does that look like? And so this is what I really kind of wanted to talk about, like from my professional lens, because I think it's important to share how we do things, especially with the ASAM, why someone might meet criteria, why they might not. And working with DJS, we've had quite a few applications. From 2023 to 2024. So we September 2024. We just did this last year. 11 were admitted, 6 did not meet, and 5 withdrew the application. So we received a total of 22 applications from DJS. And when we think about completion and discharge, these are some of the reasons why people have been discharged or did not complete treatment. So again, we have active suicidal ideations or self-harm attempts that require hospitalizations. We're not equipped to manage those. That's going to be a higher level of care. And we do really care about the safety of these youth. So we have to be, ethical and make sure that they receive care at a higher level of care. And that might mean taking them to the ER and getting them admitted into an inpatient unit. Running away from the facility an excessive number of times over a short period of time. So again, this becomes a safety thing. We've had quite a few youth run away. We've had quite a few youth run away with other youth and they come back. Not too long ago, we had a youth, probably like 3 months ago. I wasn't on call, so I did feel bad. But this youth ran away 3 times in 2 days. I just remember the on-call person being like, all right, everything's good, I left campus. And then 5 minutes later, she's like, I have to go back to campus because they ran away. But that becomes a safety thing for them, especially when they're going out trying to find these substances in an area where most people, they don't know where they are. And running away at night, that's scary. Violent, aggressive behavior, again, we have the safety thing. It's a safety concern for them. A lot of the times when they have these outbursts, they might punch a wall. We have brick walls. That is painful. So we have to make sure that they're okay and that they're able to manage their anger. If they can't manage their emotions at that time, that impedes on their ability to focus on their recovery efforts. If their mental health exceeds us, then we really can't treat their addiction to the best of our ability. And that's just because they might need a little bit extra help managing their mental health before they come back to us. And a lot of times when they do require a high level of care, they step down to us when they're done. And we treat addiction like step up, step down program. You wanna step down. These are stakeholder survey comments. We send out surveys after every youth has left our program. It really means a lot to us that people respond because we're always looking for ways to improve our program and to work and collaborate best with other agencies. The print is too tiny for me to read on here, so look at that. And we also send it out to family members as well. So, we want feedback from everybody on how we can improve the program. Quick at getting service. Nice. That makes me feel really good. Then the youth. This to me is the most important part, is hearing feedback from the youth themselves, because this is who we treat. This is their lives. Again, these are kids that have an extensive amount of trauma who, just struggle with substance use and struggle with learning how to cope and how to heal. And doing or hearing that we do well, or things that we do well with or on, that's very heartwarming. And we also have, I think another, yeah. So we also ask them how they would describe Eckert to someone who has never been to Eckert. sometimes they really don't wanna come to us and, that's understandable. But then they see what we are and how we treat addiction and things, a lot of times their mindset does change. Cause I think there's the misinformation that we are like a lockdown facility, and they can't do anything. Um, but we're not, so. Alright, and then key takeaways, went over the ASAM diagnostic criteria. Um, helping other people understand the ASAM and what it does and how we use it and how we, have the diagnoses that we do. Stakeholder involvement and collaboration, how we work with stakeholders, what we do well with them. Eckert is always looking forward to the future. We're always trying to improve. Um, our main goal is to develop a robust residential treatment program. Now we have a full clinical team. We've got four LACs, which is more than we've ever had before. So we're constantly trying to grow and continue to impact North Dakota in a positive way. Right now, we're the only residential treatment program. Now we're exploring sober living for youth. There's not a lot, there's only one Eckert right now. And I hope that there's more in the future closer to this side of the state, because there's a lot of youth that need just a little bit of extra help. And I hope that we are able to do that. That's me, that's my email, if you wanna write it down, that's it.
Is it time, just a couple questions or,
Yes, we'll make time.
okay. Anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, whoever.
Go ahead.
When you talk about school, when they, like, if they have online classes through the North Dakota Center for Business Education, can they do those while they're there?
I believe so. They do online school, when they are in an online school. They're able to do their schoolwork, yeah.
Okay.
If they were recently, like, over at Eckert and had an exam done, would you guys have to do another one if they came back in, or would you just go off of the one that was most recently done?
Oh,
Like within the last 3 months?
yeah, we always do a fresh exam, no matter what, even if we get one where they did one like previously. We always do our own exam. We like to have exams come to us, or if they had an exam done within a month, we'll use that as information, but we always do our own assessment.
So you had the different, the 3.1, 3.7.
Yeah,
So do you know in North Dakota where those different places are?
so when we recommend 3.7, we can do 3.1.2. We are licensed for ASAM levels, 1 through 3.5. But we don't do 3.7. When we recommend level 3.7, we're thinking like home on the range, DVGR, those settings, and then a lot of times we'll get them stepped down to us. And then 4 is just,
So if they went to home and range first,
mhm.
would they have been sober too long to get into Eckert?
No, because you also think about, are they only able to maintain sobriety in a facility? So we think about that as well, and a lot of the times, their mental health needs to be treated before their substance use, or their substance use, or we can't really focus on substance use that much because their mental health impedes it, so, we also like, that is a consideration, how long they've been in there, and then can they only maintain sobriety when they're in a facility, so. No, the answer is no to your question.
So when you do the family therapies, do you guys talk about, I mean, it's mostly substance abuse issues, correct?
Correct.
So the parents understand.
Mhm. Yeah, and then also helping the youth advocate for themselves and what they need in order to maintain their sobriety. So, that's like the main goal of the family sessions is to help parents understand what their kid needs in order to maintain sobriety. And then any behavior changes that the parent might need to make on their end, because the parent might be behaving in a way where it's harmful to the youth. And so we also look at that as well.
I don't have a question, I just had a comment.
Yeah.
I had a kid that we got custody of who was at Eckert at the beginning of the year, and I'd never worked with Eckert before that, and I went to his like transition meeting, and I just wanted to say that, but I was very impressed with how you guys talk to the youth, like themselves, like it was very positive, very uplifting, very encouraging, so that was refreshing, because I don't always have an experience with well, just to like hear them, like, and like elevating their choices and how you went over his relapse prevention plan and stuff, and just how encouraging and positive everybody was towards this, and so I just appreciated that.
Thank you. Yes, please. I don't really have an answer to that, but thank you. Okay.
I can feedback onto that. I had one youth that he did not want to go. And then the guy went to pick him up, he's like, Lisa, I had thought about hiding, so I could already talk about playing with you. And some go back to Bismarck. I mean, he wanted to stay there.
It's probably the lunch, but
It's actually all the snacks. When I got there, he's like, Lucy, let's see snacks. It's so weird. And it's, yeah, it was a food too. But the people were great for him too.
Yeah, you talked about expanding. And I think everyone in this room would support that.
Yes.
So I'm gonna need my cards.
oh, nice.
Encourage your team to have more contract